I remember during last week's game, after the Dolphins took the lead versus the Panthers, Barry Jackson tweeted out something like, "This is the first time in several months that Tua did not have a turnover while down one possession in the last 5 minutes of a game." And I was thinking, okay, the Dolphins did score there against the Panthers. I think it was it that long pass to Waddle, I think, to take the lead. I was thinking, okay, they took the lead, but that doesn't mean that Tua won't have a pick later in this game. And he did not have a pick, although it was very close. He overthrew Waddle by like 10 yards over his head. Luckily, Waddle was athletic enough to tip the ball to make it just out of reach of the Panthers defender. And then you get into today's game, right? Where it's a back and forth game all day. Very, very boring game. But eventually, the Dolphins would take the lead. It would be Tua to find Waller wide open in the end zone. About 46 seconds left to put the Dolphins up 2. And I'm thinking, okay, Tua, I see you, boy. Listen, I don't believe in Tua. I don't think he's a franchise quarterback, certainly. I'm not even sure if he's mid. I think maybe at best he's mid, which if you have a great offensive line and surrounding pieces, maybe you can be successful. But the Dolphins don't have any of that. Point is, we're talking about Tua, right? Because this game, against the Chargers, it will always be a big matchup. You're talking Tua versus Herbert, right? And while I'm not a big Tua believer, as I was saying, I don't love all this praise that Justin Herbert's been getting either. Because what the hell has Justin Herbert ever won? What has he ever won? He's got as many playoff wins as Tua. Now, right now, yeah, he certainly looks like the much better player. And of course, that was the big debates in the 2020 draft, right? Who should the Dolphins get? I was a big Tua guy back then. 90% of people were. But I still don't believe there's a definitive answer on who's better. Although right now, obviously, Herbert is looking better, right? But there's been years where Tua's better, years where Herbert's better. And the point is, I think both of them are mid. That's my point, right? And I don't love all this praise that that Herbert's been getting while they treat Tua like he's dog water. No, they're the exact same. They're the exact same, right? I mean, not in terms of play style and things like that, but I think both of them are mid because they never won nothing, right? So to all of that being said, I love to kick the Chargers' ass. Oh, I absolutely love to do it. Now, I didn't think it was going to happen. FanDuel, the sponsor of today's video, actually gave the Dolphins a 38% chance to win this game based off the implied odds, which I think 38% is way too high. I don't think any Dolphins expected to win this game, regardless of all the injuries that the Chargers had in the running back room and the offensive line and such. But anyways, back to my initial point, which I started making like 2 minutes ago. The Dolphins would take the lead, and then the Chargers would get a nice return with the 46 seconds left. Herbert would go to McConkey, who had like a 45-yard catch. It would set them up in field goal range, and the Chargers would end up kicking a field goal with about 5 seconds left, right? And I don't think that was some spectacular play by Herbert. I think it was bad tackling by the Dolphins. Jalen Phillips couldn't wrap him up. You had Dante Trader couldn't bring down McConkey, right? I think that's more the Dolphins getting their own way. So I'm not giving Herbert some credit there. He's still a mid player. He's still a mid player, okay? I hate losing to him. But the point is, the Dolphins will get the ball back with 5 seconds, right? You don't expect to win at that point. I know we've seen a Miami Miracle before. I look back at it fondly, right? Gronkowski didn't have the angle. But you have 5 seconds left to maybe do something. And I'm thinking, okay, well, at least it's back-to-back games where Tua took the lead while down one possession, right? In under a 5-minute game, like Barry Jackson said he usually turns it over. And then Tua turned it over, threw a pick. So it's like we're right back to Tua turning the ball over. Tua turned the ball over. That's what they call him, right? We're right back to that after one game of him taking the lead and then getting lucky not to do it. So I guess my overall point is almost every time he turns the ball over when he has a chance to take the lead going down the field. Oh, I'm so done with him. I'm so done with him. I know there was a lot of fuss about his interviews this week where he said, hey, I don't remember, but he was like, we could win, we could lose. At the end of the day, I just want to go home and I get to see my kids and they're always happy to see me. And listen, I'm not hating on that. I'm sure Tua Tagovailoa is an incredible husband, a great father, and I respect the hell out of him for that. I really, really do. And I have no problem with him valuing all of that over football, right? I heard other people comment and say, hey, well, I sit down with my family to watch you every week and you disappoint me. Well, you know what? That's on you. If you're sitting down to watch the Miami Dolphins play football and you're expecting enjoyment, that's on you, okay? That has nothing to do with Tua enjoying his family time. Tua doesn't owe you anything, okay? But my reason that I didn't love that quote is because, okay, if you don't care about winning football games, then retire. Don't play football. I have no issue with you wanting to fully commit to your family and being a husband and father. You've earned that, right? And you're great at it, I'm sure. But then don't take a max contract from the Dolphins. Don't show up to training camp, the scrimmaging saying, show me the money. And then don't come on the field and then play like trash. Retire like you should have did a long time ago. They were talking on the broadcast today how the Chargers defensive players were saying how easy it is to guard Tua because every time he rolls out, he's rolling out to pass because he can't run because he's not mobile. He had like a 6-yard run today. I almost fell on the floor. I said, oh, look at Tua turning on the burner, 6 yards. Oh my God. Everyone on this team is bad at football. Everyone. I saw, except let's give Devon Achane some credit, right? Achane today they were force feeding him like crazy. 128 rushing yards for Devon Achane, right? 22 receptions. He had 2 touchdowns overall. Obviously, he's a great player. But I'm ready to get rid of everyone. I saw an article, no shade, to the person who wrote it, I forget, but on Twitter, they were like, some cornerstones the Dolphins should keep amid rebuild, right? And like one of them was Devon Achane, which, okay, fine. He's a good player. Is he one of the best in the game? Maybe. He still needs a lot of help, offensive line and such. But what running back doesn't? I'm not going to take that away from Achane. He's still making incredible plays out there with no help. I love Achane. But another one said Jalen Waddle. And it's like, Jalen Waddle's a fine number 2. But let's not act like he's some franchise cornerstone, okay? First play of the game when Tua did have a pick, it was a good throw by Tua. That was all Jalen Waddle's fault. Bobbling the ball, can't catch it. He's not helping out his quarterback. Later in the game, massive play. Tua goes down the field 40 yards. Jalen Waddle wide open. Bobbles the ball 7 times. Was lucky enough that the ball falled in his chest while he was on the ground. So technically it was still a completion. But it should have never even been close. It was reviewed. I think that was right before halftime or something. The refs still had to review it. And luckily that ball still fell out on Jalen Waddle. And I know Waddle had a nice play later in the game, made a tough catch, but come on, this team has no franchise cornerstones. That's my point. I think that the article also said Jordan Brooks. Jordan Brooks is a fine player. He's not a cornerstone piece. The article did also mention Tua, which, hell no, Tua is certainly no franchise cornerstone. I don't know. We keep beating a dead horse, but get rid of everyone. I know the dumb guy flying the banner today. I think it's every home game so far. They've had the banner say fire McDaniel, fire Greer, which I think that guy flying that plane is lame too. Not the guy flying the plane, the guy who's paying for it. It's like, go do something better with your money. You got so much money, you don't know what to do with it but fly a banner. Stephen Ross is not listening to you. He's not going to fire Chris Greer because you're wasting your money on a damn banner every game. Go do something better with your time, okay? I don't know why I'm lashing out on you. I do agree with you, but I don't know. Very, very embarrassing performance from the Dolphins overall. I took a few notes, not super in depth, but we'll kind of give you I'll give you what I got just to give you a quick rundown. So in the first quarter, you had the Tua pick off like the second play of the game. Again, that was all Jalen Waddle's fault. Although the announcers were trying to say something like, "Oh, that's what happens when you make Tua double pump. He's gonna turn it over." It's a good pass. It's Jalen Waddle's fault. Anyways, the Chargers would get the ball. They'd be held to a field goal. Except the fact that the Dolphins committed another penalty while the Chargers were kicking. Second time this year the Dolphins special teams has done that to extend plays. It was Zach Sealer, a few weeks back when he roughed into the punter, actually, to extend the plays. So twice this year, Dolphins keep extending plays because of special teams mishaps. The Dolphins, a couple plays later, that same drive, they would have to call a timeout, just wasting timeouts because they got too many men on the field. We're in week 6, year 4 under McDaniel, and you're still wasting timeouts because you're not prepared? That is direct coaching. There's a lot of stuff you might not be able to blame McDaniel for or Anthony Weaver because, the personnel sucks and guys are hurt and you can't blame them for that. But having too many men on the field is a direct correlation or cause of the head coach or general coaching staff. How do you not fire these people when you have visual proof of their exact fault of a team being unprepared? Dolphins would still force the Chargers to a field goal. Shout out to Kenneth Grant, had his first solo sack. So no harm, no foul that drive other than the wasted timeout. So Dolphins will be down 3-0. They would end up forcing a fumble the next possession. I forget who punched it out, but that time I think it was Fitzpatrick who landed on the fumble. I forget, but the Dolphins, the defense did make a nice play there to punch the ball loose. And then very next play, probably the most exciting play of the day, Devon Achane, 40-yard touchdown run to the house. And then they would hold the Dolphins would hold the Chargers to another field goal to make it 7-6 at the end of the first quarter. So far, Dolphins defense bending but not breaking. They would have a lead at the end of the first. And then in the second quarter, the Dolphins were forced to kick a long field goal, and they would miss that. It was a nice first down, on that drive. Darren Waller had a great catch, but it was called back because of an Aaron Brewer hold. And then they had an awfully executed trick play on third down where they threw a backwards pass to Waddle. The play took like 7 seconds to set up, and then Waddle threw it forward to Achane, who was supposed to have some blocking. He had no blocking whatsoever. Julian Hill was getting ragdolled, and just bad play by the Dolphins. That's why they settled for the long field goal, which Patterson would miss, which is fine. I think that was his only missed field goal this year for Riley Patterson, right? Because what he ended up finishing with today. Does it have kicking stats on here? Riley Patterson, 2 or 3 today. I think that was his first miss all year. But anyways, the Dolphins would force another field goal when the Chargers got the ball back. So now the Dolphins will be down 9-7. Dolphins would answer with a field goal of their own to go back 10-9. Somewhere Tony Sperano is rest in peace, Tony Sperano. I love you, my guy. Somewhere he's going crazy because we know that he loved himself some field goals, and that's what this game was for a while. Was a field goal fest. Dolphins will go up 10-9. On that drive, though, Waddle had a catch for 1 yard, forward, and then he ran backwards, and then he ran 50 yards laterally across the field, and then he ended up getting back to the line of scrimmage. So he lost the yard if he would have just went down. Dumb stuff like that. I don't understand what he's doing. I guess I respect he's trying to make a play, but take the yard. Why do these guys run backwards? Then I was even more mad that drive because on third down, it was only 3rd and 7 or something. Waddle's not even on the field. One of your better playmakers. I know I'm saying he's not the guy, obviously, but on this team, he's one of your better playmakers, and McDaniel doesn't have him out there on the field on third down. I know these guys can't play every snap, but you got to have your playmakers out there on third down. What's this coaching staff doing? I don't know. Somebody let me know. But anyways, the Dolphins would kick the field goal. They would go up 10-9, as we said. They would end up getting the ball back with a couple of timeouts, about 1:50 before the half, and execute a pretty good 2-minute drill there to get another field goal before the half. That's when Waddle had that long pass that he bobbled because he can't catch for some reason all the time. Tua can't throw a long ball, and then when he does throw a long ball, Waddle bobbles it. Whatever. He was lucky enough to get it, and the Dolphins field goal puts them up 13-9 at the half. Chargers will go right down the field on opening drive. You had Herbert to McConkey. That put them up 16-13. And then Tua threw a pick. This time it was a bad pass behind Achane. Herbert would get another touchdown, this time to Vidal, who killed Miami today. What'd that guy finish with? I picked him up in fantasy. That I knew. After we saw Daddle rush for 200 last week, Kamani Vidal today, 124 rushing yards. Wow. And I think he had the receiving touchdown too. Yeah, a receiving touchdown. Obviously, a lot of people were in fantasy were picking up the Chargers backs. They said Haskins was the number one, but as a Dolphins fan, I knew don't take Haskins. He's the small up the middle. He's the bigger, small run up the middle type of guy. Vidal's the quick, shifty guy. Those are the ones the Dolphins have problems with. So I knew to take Vidal, and that did work out for me in fantasy, although I was forced to start Tua because I waited way too long to draft a quarterback. He's all that was left, and Tua was at cheeks today. So I'm going to lose anyways, and I won against Achane. So rough week for me anyways in terms of fantasy. In one of my leagues. I do have Achane in another league, and shout out to all my Achane fantasy owners because he's on one this year, Devon Achane. But anyways, that Herbert touchdown will put them up 23-13 Chargers. Dolphins get the ball back. They got completely offensive line completely fell apart. Tua got sacked on third down. I forget if that time if it was Savai Naya or whoever else, but I'm gonna blame Savai Naya because he is cheeks, bro. How many times are we gonna keep saying, "Oh, it's only game 3, it's only game 4, it's only game 5, it's week 6"? I know you're a rookie, but did the Dolphins trade up to get Savai Naya? I think they did. Either way, he was still an earlier round pick. You can't be literally the worst graded offensive tackle in football. I understand as a rookie, you have growing pains, whatever. He's literally the worst. That can't happen. Chargers would get another field goal to go up 13, be 26-13. And then Dolphins would answer with a touchdown. That'd put them up 26-20. I think that was Achane's second touchdown. We'd force a punt to make things interesting. And that's when, to Tua's credit, they did go on a very nice touchdown drive. I think Tua was 8 for 8 that drive. He would finally find Waller. Barely targeted Waller all day outside of the one that was called back because of the penalty. But he'd find Waller wide ass open in the end zone. Credit to Tua for finding him because he did have to scramble a little bit. That was a good throw by Tua. That put the Dolphins up 27-26 with 46 seconds left. I don't think any of us thought the Dolphins would win this game at that point, regardless of what the odds probably said. They would get good pressure on Herbert. Jalen Phillips nearly sacked him. Can't tackle. Why? I don't know. Jalen Phillips probably another guy that should retire too. Too many injuries. He's washed. Sorry. He'd find McConkey. Dante Trader will completely miss the tackle for short yards gain. McConkey will get 45 yards, and Chargers will basically run out the clock, kick a field goal, and then Dolphins had one possession, 5 seconds left. Tua threw a pick. So I don't really think I got too much else to say. I mean, Tua, who has pretty consistently outplayed Herbert in the past, not the case today. 205 yards for him, 1 touchdown, 3 picks. Meanwhile, Herbert, 264 and 2 touchdowns. He actually played very well, And it's like we could give the Dolphins every excuse in the book. Receivers dropping balls, offensive line injuries. Right now, the Chargers got it worse. In terms of injuries, in terms of weapons, they got it worse. They really do. And Herbert was able to make do. So I know, I think they're very similar. But this year, there's no doubt about it. Herbert is outplaying Tua, but most people are. And I mean, I guess Jalen Waddle today did have 98 receiving yards, 95 receiving yards, but the second in yardage on this team in terms of receiving was Julian Hill, 31 yards. If Julian Hill is your second leading receiver getter, you're not having a good day. But anyways, I don't really got much more else to say about this game. It's the same garbage every week. Good news is you got the Miami Hurricanes, had a bye week this week, still number 2 in the country. They will take Louisville on Friday, and you got the Miami Heat, who actually have a preseason game in just a couple of hours here. They play the Orlando Magic. And right now on FanDuel, you can get the Miami Heat at plus 210 to beat the Magic tonight. If you're betting preseason, you may need to call the number. I don't know what to tell you. But, hey, if you like the Heat, if you think they might get their first win in the preseason, which they're due for a win, right? Maybe you like them at plus 210. You could get a good return there on FanDuel. Make sure to like the video, comment your thoughts down below on whatever the hell you want, and subscribe. I'm on the grind to hit 10,000 subs. See you on the next one. Peace out, everyone.
Look, pull up in your city, tryna get that dead face. Do it on my own, I don't need no dead weight. Had to kill him off, yeah, I need a head space. This homegrown bitch don't offend me.